Hello everyone and welcome to episode 22 of my Rampant Pyanodon playthrough. Today we are on our way to making the printed circuit substrate for our simple circuit boards. As you can see here, I've gone ahead and done the factory planner, which includes some sub-factories because those are the more complicated ones. So if we bring up my map, we can see that, let's put this over here real quick. If we bring up my map, we can see that in order to make simple circuit boards, we're working on our last component, the printed circuit substrate, that has two main ingredients that need to be made separately because of their complexity. Those two are treated wood and formaldehyde. And then also, as you see a little subsection here, in order to make the printed circuit substrate, we also need sap. So we're going to make a separate gardening area because the sap is made in buildings called the sap extractors. However, the sap extractors need they're called sap trees inside them, and to make sap trees is a whole other process. And so I'm deciding I'm gonna make a dedicated area to make sap trees in case we ever need sap trees in the future, and we'll also do that for trees that we have made previously, so that if we ever need more trees in the future, we will have a place for it. So if we look at this list, we can go ahead and say the first thing I should be working on is gardening. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright, so I've gone ahead and made the, my gardening area. Here we have the sap trees being made. So what happens is we get sap, turns into sap leaves, turns into sap trees when combined with planter boxes, and that's pretty simple enough. Here's where the trees are being made. It needs seedlings, which need moss and tree seeds. Tree seeds just come from wood. Moss comes from muddy sludge and carbon dioxide. We have carbon dioxide made here, which takes in, it says biomass, but I should be using coke. There we go. There is the coke recipe. And then here we have soil combining with water to make muddy sludge. And the soil comes from up here. This is where we need planter boxes, since we'll need it for probably everything we garden. But we make the empty planter box with wood, iron plates, and stone bricks, which we'll import. And then we also need ash, soil, and empty planter boxes to make the full planter boxes. But here it is, fully decorated and decked out. I'm going to go ahead and plug in some inputs and see if it works. Alright, so the inputs have been plugged in, and everything seems to work. We have our planter boxes, what are they called? Yeah, we have our planter boxes coming down, we have sap trees being made, and we have trees not being made yet, but there's a tree in process. So my new gardening area is done. And the first thing I'm going to do with the gardening area is, well, obviously we make the sap for sap trees, and we use those sap trees to make sap. Here, I know it looks gigantic, I have 40 of them, but apparently we need 36.4 sap extractors, so I've made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 by 4, 40 sap extractors. A little bit of an overproduction, but this is our sap farm that's going to feed the printed circuit substrate, and whatever else it needs to in the future. Or, no, I guess this will be dedicated for printed circuit substrate because it only produces basically what we need. But let's go ahead and port these over, and let's go ahead and port them over. Before I port them over, please take a second to appreciate the artistic beauty. I really like how the sap farm came out. We have the sap farms directly on wood with concrete in between each one. The garden is a little less well themed. It's kind of geometric. I put nice borders around each separate farm area and made some nice shapes over here, but otherwise it looks okay. Maybe over-designed a little bit. The sap farm, though, this part here looks golden. But anyways, yeah, let's go ahead, blueprint these, and bring them over. Again, I am going to continue with my theme of making builds that are way too big for my map. Okay, despite there being a dot right over here, a cliff, I think I'm going to have to just put it here and hope I know it doesn't interfere with anything because of the size. But putting it here and reserving all the space below it for future expansions is, I think, as good as we're going to get. So yeah, let's go ahead and... Oh shoot, I forgot that the inputs to this are directly to the left of it, so we actually need to give it more space. So let's go ahead and pull this up again. We need to give it like let's give it plenty of space. Let's basically bring it right up against that other dot, which puts this dot right here in the middle, squarely in the center of it. So I think right here is fair. Let's go ahead and, okay, yeah, that dot is in a fine spot. It's a cliff. I keep calling it a dot, but it's a cliff. I have no idea why I designed it with the output coming from the side, when I know my bus is a horizontal bus. But I do not want to redesign it all, so no worries, we will just work around it. Ah, it feels good. I finally emptied all the sap and all the trees from this chest, and I'm moving it over to the other chest. That's where my dedicated garden is, right over here. And there's the sap, and then I can even put these two trees right over here, which is the end result of this one. And we are still just crafting away. Lots of stuff to build. Alright, so this is the dedicated garden area. Mostly done. I just need to build one more pipe. And then also get some sap trees. Get some sap trees in here. Which looks like I have two sap trees. So perfect. Look at that. We are now completely done, except for that one pipe. And then obviously we still need to get our inputs going. So let's go ahead and do that next. Okay, so right now my base is kind of in this big standstill, or we're going through a fuel drought because our rock coal is simply not keeping up anymore. I mean, it's because it all goes to glass, to our dedicated glass production, which is right here. I thought this would slow down because I have filled up our outputs with glass, so these should be full of glass, which means these will fill up soon, which means this will stop consuming tar and coal gas, which will stop consuming raw coal, which again is where all of my raw coal has been going recently. But also, something else that can help, okay, so sorry, the fuel shortage, what it does is, you know, obviously I run out of fuel, and then what happens is I'm not able to smelt anything in my furnace area, so I get very little iron. One solution is to, of course, manually get iron over here, which is what I have been doing, but also I realized that one of the inputs for my new dedicated garden area is stone brick. And using stone brick, we can go through first of all, go through the backlog of stone we have, and if we go through all of that, we can release some of this kerogen, and the kerogen can be burned as fuel. So let's go ahead and work on getting stone brick out there so that we could increase our iron production. And through, it's not connected to the output yet, but releasing the stone brick should have a positive production, a positive effect on our iron plate production. Again, this is because using stone brick means that we use stone. Using stone means we free up kerogen. Kerogen is used as a burnable extra fuel, which we dearly need, or sorely need, we sorely need for our iron plates. Unfortunately, the more I look at it, the more I think we are not going to get through, or we're not going to release this kerogen, because we have about like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, we have 9 steel chests full of stone. So it might not release the kerogen, but I mean, it'll release it eventually, maybe. It's good to at least be using our stone for something. Every single spaghetti interchange I make, it's just a beautiful mess of organized chaos. But anyways, I realized one of the inputs is also stone. And stone is also good for consuming stone, which will help get our factory back online. But as soon as the spaghetti interchange is good to go, I think I will go ahead and send it up, out and up here. So let's just make a small cut here so that we just make sure everything is right. And then as soon as I finish crafting everything, again, we will plug it in and we'll see the spaghetti interchange in action. Okay, so it is ready to go. Let's go ahead and plug in our spaghetti interchange and then watch it in action. Very nice. I love watching the places that combine, such as the wood and the iron. I think that's it for this one. There's only wood and iron that combines. Everything else is on its own. Usually I do more half belts, but I was saying, okay, maybe in the future we will have more half belts come in. But it was hard to design half belts for my main garden area, so I settled for mainly full belts, which I sort of regret doing because look at all this belt space that is wasted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 of the inputs could have been reduced to 2 or to 3 belts, you know, exactly half of it. But it seems like all the belts or all the stuff has come through except for one. So let's go ahead and follow this. Oh, this is Coke. This is because I have set it to not go. So now that I have set it to go, some of the Coke will come up here. And we should be good to go ahead and turn on our garden. If one of my construction drones could please... Oh, I'm out of belts. Of split belts, but we do have the sushi belt for fuel, which I always enjoy seeing. I always enjoy sushi. Okay, so we have the ash being fed in. We also have the stone brick iron plate and the wood being filled in. The stone is making its way over to the moss. Looks like we still need wood. Yes, wood is coming as well to be fed into the seeds and also to fuel the seeds. Oh, and I forgot to mention earlier, but the way this ash is it does a thing where we prioritize ash that comes from the outside. Or we prioritize internal ash before using outside ash. And there we go. Everything's humming. Everything is working. And again, it's a very slow process. We are making coke, so we are making moss. And moss should be getting directly inserted soon. And that'll be everything being made here. So let's just wait for that moment. It's going to be a very long moment. Well, not that long. With the power of editing, it's instant. And we are right here, and there's moss. The moss is being put into the botanical nursery to make our first bits of tree seedling. Let's see it being made. Oh, it's very slow, but it's okay because with the power of editing, this is also, and there we go. The seedlings is done, or the seedlings are done, and it's being placed in here to make the first tree Mark 1 in a long time. Well, I mean, we have trees, but the first tree that we've made in our dedicated garden area. Let's go ahead and see this tree being made again. Instant. And there's our first tree. There's our first... Oh, well, looks like there were trees already. No, we had one that we had from earlier. But that is the garden area all set up. Next up, we got to work on sap. Yeah, but before we begin working on sap, let's go ahead and check this off. So bring up the map. We go ahead and finish the dedicated garden area. We finish the trees. And we finish the sap trees. So these will be green. And again, next up, we are working on sap. Well, okay, so I said sap was next, and I was looking to place it. So I said sap was next, and I was looking to place it like I always do, and taking forever, when I realized maybe I shouldn't place it until I know where everything else is going, right? Because this sap is purely for printed circuit substrate, so there's no reason for it to go on the bus. So if we look ahead at our map, we need it for printed circuit substrate, so maybe we should work on treated wood and formaldehyde first before we place the sap down, so that we know exactly where everything will fit in. Man, I am in the middle of designing the treated wood, and it's got to be some of the most confusing pipe stuff I've dealt with so far in PyMods. There's a total of 8 buildings, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I really like how it came out with 2 groups of 3 here and then a group of 2. And then we have all the steam over here. I'm realizing that I will not have nearly enough burnable fuel to power all this steam. We need about a full belt of coal. So we need a dedicated belt of raw coal for this coming from somewhere. So we'll have to figure that part out. But also... I mean, it's pretty spaghetti, but it's confusing. But I think this works. Oh, we need to get the creosote all linked up. This playtest, or not playtest, says do a test run, playtest. I forgot the word is. But yeah, we have to go ahead and test this a bunch. But again, I just wanted to point out that this has been very confusing. Just having a ton of inputs and outputs per tar processing unit, but I think it's in place. Let me go ahead and decorate this and test it out. Okay, so it's currently been running for a while now. We did some long-term testing and everything looks good. Again, this has confirmed the need for basically a dedicated belt of raw coal, which we'll need to bring in. It needs a dedicated belt of fuel. Otherwise, everything runs well and we get a good amount of treated wood. I've also used the hazard concrete for the first time, and I think it looks very nice. So, the next thing we should work on, so that was treated wood. The next thing we should work on is formaldehyde. Okay, so I've just made the formaldehyde area, and we've plugged it in. We'll see if it's self-sustaining. It seems like the moondrop eats itself, but it doesn't always produce the same amount, so we'll plug that in. Also, I have to provide a vent here so that we are using formaldehyde, or I guess for now we can just plug in a tank to see that fill up. But yeah, let's go ahead and see if this thing is self-sustaining. Okay, so I did a long-term test run, a long-term test. Okay, retry that. All right, so I've done a long-term test, and it seems to be stable. I've also made this nice decoration here. I think it looks good. But yeah, it seems to be stable. We always have enough moondrops producing, and this is still filling this up, so I think this is good. Now I have to debate over whether I want to add moondrop to my, where is it called, my garden setup, and also how to make the first moondrop. I think I need something called a codex. Oh, it's open right here. Yes, I need a moondrop codex with a planter box and a petri dish and water to make the first moondrop before I can loop it here. So I will figure that part out. Okay, so I've decided that I'm going to add this little mini version of the moondrop maker into my garden and just kind of plop that in right underneath here. But otherwise, in order to make the first moondrop again, we need to do something with the moondrop codex, which is right here. That's how we make the first moondrop, and we needed a petri dish. So I've made this mini facility, this mini factory to make petri dishes and insert and have the place to make the first moondrop with the moondrop codex, and we'll grab planter boxes from our garden area. And with this, we should be all set for simple circuit boards, right? So here's our path. We make the first moondrop, we add the moondrop to our garden until we have enough moondrops, then we build the formaldehyde, and then we could build the treated wood area, and then this all fits into right here. I've built these simple circuits into this nice tiny box, and after that's done, or sorry, not simple circuits, these are the printed circuit substrates, and after that's done, where is it? Right here. This is where we make our first simple circuit board. So we're very near the finish line. Let's go ahead and build all of it.
Speaking of building all of it, I want to spend time speaking about building my confidence in my patrons. Thank you guys so much for supporting me. Thank you, Ema, and zoom out and over to thank you, John Boy.